Hello and welcome to this, the first of our new thoughts for the day. From now on, they'll be on Tuesdays, not Mondays. Today is Tuesday, the 29th of September. As I'm sure you'll know, this is the feast of Saint Michael and all angels. We have reflected before on the nature of saints and on their sometimes complex and not altogether easy personalities, but we've always done so when thinking about people such as Saint Francis of Assisi, who are well-attested historical figures. The patron saint of England is St. George, and the first thing we can say about him is that he may possibly never have existed. He may have been the creation of a myth about the deliverance of Christians from their enemies. If there ever was someone called George at the origin of our stories of his sainthood, we can at least be sure that he was a Christian, so he postdated the composition of what we call the New Testament. It seems reasonable to assume that saints in the Christian calendar date from after the time of our Lord's earthly ministry, but this is definitely not true of Saint Michael. In Roman Catholic, Eastern Orthodox, Anglican, and Lutheran Christianity, he's certainly called Saint Michael the Archangel, or just plain Saint Michael. But who was he? He is referred to as an archangel not only in Christianity but also in Judaism and Islam. Michael is mentioned 3 times in the Old Testament book of Daniel. He came to be regarded quite widely as a sort of protector of the Jewish people, acting on God's behalf. That brings into mind the whole question of what an angel is. Let's break off for a moment and read a passage from the Book of Tobit. Now, the Book of Tobit features in the Apocrypha, not strictly part of the Old Testament canon and certainly not of the New. It's an extraordinary document which uses the vehicle of a rather fantastical folk tale to point to various religious and moral precepts. All you need to know for now is that Tobit and Sarah have a series of adventures in which they are accompanied by an angel called Raphael. This passage comes near the end of the book. Tobit chapter 12 verses 16 to 22. The 2 of them were shaken. They fell face down, for they were afraid. But he said to them, "Do not be afraid. Peace be with you. Bless God for evermore. As for me, when I was with you, I was not acting on my own will, but by the will of God. Bless him each and every day. Sing his praises. Although you were watching me, I really did not eat or drink anything, but what you saw was a vision. So now get up from the ground and acknowledge God. See, I'm ascending to him who sent me. Write down all these things that have happened to you." And he ascended. Then they stood up and could see him no more. They kept blessing God and singing his praises, and they acknowledged God for these marvelous deeds of his, when an angel of God had appeared to them. An angel of God. What is an angel of God? The Greek word angelos means a messenger. Angels bring messages from God. That makes them intermediaries between God and humans. It also makes them, more broadly speaking, emissaries of God who go about executing God's will. You heard Raphael saying that he was acting not by his own will, but by the will of God. In the book Revelation, or the Apocalypse, St. John of Patmos tells us about Michael slaying the dragon, representing the forces of darkness, just as in Jewish tradition, Michael had fought the enemies of Israel. So here we have St. Michael acting as not so much a passive messenger as an active agent of God, executing God's will, not to mention, incidentally, executing the dragon. Now, this is not the time or place to go into the theology of angels or angelology, but I think it does provide us with some food for thought about our own role as Christians. One of the traditional folk ideas of what angels do is that they ceaselessly sing praises to the Almighty, possibly accompanying themselves on harps. And praising God is certainly to be encouraged. In the preface to the prayer of consecration at Holy Communion, we say, do we not? It is very meet, right, and our bounden duty that we should at all times and in all places give thanks unto thee, O Lord, Holy Father, Almighty everlasting God. Therefore, with angels and archangels, and with all the company of heaven, we laud and magnify thy glorious name. But simply giving praise to God is surely not sufficient. Love thy neighbor as thyself means actually doing something positive to improve the lot of others. Every one of us should not only bear the message of the good news to others, but actually work to defeat evil, injustice, and poverty wherever we see it. So you might, with proper modesty, not have thought of yourself as having that much in common with Saint Michael on this Michaelmas Day, or even with Raphael in the Book of Tobit. Nevertheless, every one of us is an emissary of God, charged with helping to bring about the reign of God on earth. Proficiency on the harp is optional, but on this feast of Saint Michael, be an angel. Amen.